Hello everyone, welcome to today's video. Today we are going back in time, back to this time last year, December 2019, and I'm going to be looking at what were my favorites from last year. So I'm going to be revisiting my 2019 yearly favorites because I've never really done that, I don't think, where I go back and look at the favorites I've talked about before and revisit them. So I thought that would be a good video to do for you, and a fun video where I take a look at the things that I was loving in 2019, things that were my favorites, and let you know if they're still favorites now, a year later in 2020, or if maybe they've kind of fallen off my favorites list and maybe been replaced by something else. So we'll check in, see if I feel the same way or not. I have not looked yet to see what my favorites from last year were, so I'm going to pull up that video, take a look. I'll scooch over so I can put the clips in here of what I'm looking at. Okay, so the first item was the CeraVe Hydrating Facial Cleanser, and that still is my cleanser today. I'm still really enjoying using it. It's really working well for my skin. Now, I do occasionally switch it up with other exfoliators, other cleansers, and the one downside of this CeraVe one is that if I do have a full face of makeup, it does, well, not even a full face of makeup, sometimes it's not enough to get off all of my makeup, such as concealer, things like that. So while it's a gentle cleanser, sometimes it doesn't do enough, so I do have to go in with other types of cleansers or makeup removers to make sure that I've gotten all of my makeup off. So that is the one, I guess, downside about it, but it still is a favorite and still a cleanser that I'm really enjoying using. The next product was also from CeraVe, and it was their Daily Moisturizing Lotion. I think you can use it for body or face, but it is also still in my bathroom, still being used, still a favorite. I use it as a nighttime moisturizer. In the winter, it's definitely not moisturizing enough. I have to use other moisturizers instead of it or with it. Especially throughout the warmer months, it's great as a nighttime moisturizer because it's just lightweight, unscented, doesn't have a bunch of extra stuff in it. But if you do have dry skin or it is winter months where it's colder, I don't think it will be enough moisturization. I don't find it's enough moisturization for me during that time, but I do still really like it. Alright, so the next thing is the Tree Hut Shave Oil, and this is still my current shaving product. I've tried some different scents and don't really have a favorite so far. I do still really like this product, and it is still what I am using when I shave in the shower. So I can still recommend it to you. The next favorite was the Wet Brush, which is also still a favorite. It's the best thing still that I've found for when you get out of the shower and have wet hair and want to easily get through the wet hair without damaging it, and also get out tangles and things if you have them. It's still my go-to product for that. Still love it, still using it, still recommend it. Next was eyeshadow palettes, and I of course still enjoy eyeshadow palettes. I don't know if I'd put them on a favorites list for this year, because while I still like them, still enjoy them, and I'm still using them, I did declutter some of them if you saw my eyeshadow palette declutter video. If not, I can link it up in the cards and in the description box, but I did declutter a number of them. And while I still really like them, still enjoy using them, I do think I enjoy single shade, pretty much any eyeshadow, just as much, whether it's in a palette, a single. While I find myself still reaching for the palettes more, it's not that I like them any more than single shadows or those things, and I also find myself not running to purchase them. Not that I really purchase that many, but I'm not as eager to purchase them as I might have been last year because, well, for one, there's so many eyeshadow palettes, it can get overwhelming, and yeah, I don't know. I guess I'm not explaining it very well. I don't know how to explain it, but I still like them. They're just maybe not a favorite to make the list. And if you hear Duncan meowing, nothing is wrong. He just thinks it's his dinner time. but it's not his dinner time for at least another hour. But he's not understanding that, so he's being very vocal about it. The next item that was a favorite was the Benefit Bad Gal Bang Mascara, and I'm gonna have to say this is not a favorite, but not because I dislike it, because I think if I used it again, I would still like it as much as I did at the time. But since that video, I have not purchased that mascara again or worn that mascara again. So I feel as though it can't be that much of a favorite if I've gone a whole year without wearing or purchasing it, and I've had other mascaras instead. So I would say that while that's still a good mascara, I don't think it's a favorite at the moment. So those were all of the products that I included in my yearly favorites. For some reason, I thought I had more than that as far as products, but apparently not. So next I go into TV shows, and the first one I mentioned was Veronica Mars. I still enjoy it, but it's no longer a favorite because they've made no more seasons of it. So until they decide to make new episodes or seasons of it, it's not a favorite because I'm not watching it because there's no new episodes. The next show I mentioned was Dawsons Creek, and that is still currently a favorite because I am still going back through the old seasons, which to some of you I know might seem crazy to a year later be still going back through the seasons. And no, I did not start again. I'm on season 4 right now. Let's see if it says what season I was on. So I don't say what season I was on, but I'm currently on season 4, and the reason being that I'm not a binger, so I'm not going to typically sit down and watch an entire season of Dawsons Creek. I have a list of shows that I watch, a lot of different shows, including YouTube, and so it could take me a week to cycle through all of the shows before going back to watch another episode of Dawsons Creek. So that's why it takes me so long to get through them, because I'm at most probably watching one episode a week, and there's multiple seasons. So that's a little explanation there for you. But it is still currently a favorite show because, for the same reasons I said before, nostalgia. It's like watching it for the first time again, and yeah, I'm still enjoying it. The next show is Nashville, which again, I'm still currently watching. I'm on the last season of that one now, but I am still enjoying it and will complete the entire series definitely before next year. Next is Riverdale. Again, still watching, still enjoying. I think I'm on season 3 or 4 of that. I'm usually 1 or 2 seasons behind the ones that are on TV. But if you watch it, I'm on the season with the Griffins and Gargoyles game. So, I can't remember which number it is, but if you watch the show, you'll know what I'm talking about. And yes, I very much still enjoy that one. The next section of my yearly favorites was podcasts, and the first one I mentioned was Start Inspired by Samantha March, and she is still doing this podcast and it is still a favorite for me. I download and listen to the episode every week, and it's still up there as one of my favorite podcasts. The next one I mentioned is the Lavendaire Lifestyle. This one I really haven't been listening to as much because she hasn't been producing many episodes, so when I would go to listen to it, there wouldn't be any new ones, and a lot of times when that happens and they go weeks or months without producing, it kind of falls off my podcast list, and I may go back here and there to check for a new one, but she really just hasn't had a lot of new ones lately, so I wouldn't say it's a favorite anymore. The next one I mentioned is the Skim, which is still on my podcast list and is still a favorite. That's the one where they basically break down some of the news stories and make them easy to understand, easy to keep up to date with. And I've pretty much caught up to being current with that one, which is helpful. And I do still enjoy it for getting concise, easy to understand news. Next is Inside of You with Michael Rosenbaum. Still a favorite, still on my list. He interviews a lot of actors, other celebrities. This one I'm quite a ways behind on, but it's not super timely, so that's okay, because since they're just interviews, it's not like I have to be up to date on the most current one, so it is still a favorite. Next is the Rise podcast by Rachel Hollis. I still enjoy certain episodes of this one, but I'm not as diehard for it as I was last year. There's still good content, good episodes, but I don't listen to every episode or try to catch up on every episode. I just kind of pick and choose the ones that are interesting to me. Then the next is Rise Together podcast, which was between her and her husband. Now, if you follow them, you'll know that they are either separated or divorced or getting divorced. I'm not sure. So that one has changed from being a podcast about couples to I'm not sure, because I haven't listened to it lately to know how it's changed. So I would have to say that both of those are no longer favorites, but I still do listen to them. So the final things I talked about in the yearly favorites were my favorite YouTubers at the time, which are still my favorite YouTubers now, and that is Jessica Braun, Samantha March, and Zoe Sugg. They're still up there at the top as my favorites that I go and want to watch their videos right away. That hasn't changed. Nobody's really replaced them that I can think of at the moment, so that has stayed the same. So this has been interesting for me to go back and not only see what were my favorites, because some of them I had forgotten about, but also to see what are still favorites and what aren't. And it seems like most of the stuff are still favorites or things that I really enjoy. I can't think of anything that I was saying, no, I don't like that. I mean, the mascara I haven't used, but I don't dislike it. So there was nothing that I went back and said, oh no, I don't like that at all anymore. So there you go. I've also found this helpful because as I've been going along, it's been kind of helping me think of more favorites to include in this year's yearly favorites that I hadn't thought of until I started going back and reviewing. That video will be up soon if you want to find out what my favorites for this year, 2020, were. So stay tuned for that. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Thanks so much for watching and spending some time with me. I really do appreciate it. And I'll talk to you soon. Bye!